All right, so I'm parked outside the legendary Billy Goat, right across from Tribune Tower. In my Mazda 3 is the Reverend Horton Heat. We've got some burgers. We're going to eat. We're going to talk about the Rev's career. But I should mention, if you switch to Boost Mobile, your taxes and fees are included on all plans. Plus, get 2 lines with 3 gigs of 4G LTE per line for just $50. It's all on the fast and reliable Sprint nationwide network. Boost makes it easy to switch. Switching makes it easy to save. Reverend Horton Heat, Jim Heath, are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
All right, so we're recording this. Reverend Horton Heat is right here. We've got burgers from Billy Goat. We're recording this at the tail end of a massive stand here in Chicago. You love this town. This town loves you.
Oh yeah, this is a great city. It really is. And you know, I mean, if you look at what's the number one city in the world, I mean, Chicago's either got to be that or number 2. You know, I mean, it's the best in the world. So yeah, we love it, and the people are great here and friendly, and you know, it's everything you'd never want in a big city.
So we're eating Billy Goat burgers. You've never been here. There's so much history. I warned you before we ordered, just ask for a double. Because you asked for a burger, and right away she said, the double, it's thin patties, you should get that. They won't suffer single burger orders here at Billy Goat. It's on the menu, but they don't even... And who are you to argue?
Right.
When in Rome,
Give me
right?
a double, that's right.
Give me a
Okay.
double. And this all reminds me of Let Me Teach You How to Eat, song from the most recent Rev album. That video, by the way, you've got like hot pinup girls in the kitchen eating food. Isn't that why you got into rock and roll in the first place, to be able to make a video like that?
Absolutely, yes. Uh-huh.
That's it. Singing about food, hot pinup girls.
That's right.
Done and done.
It's rock and roll, man.
When I think about the Reverend Horton Heat, that video actually is a perfect springboard. I think about American culture. I feel like you're a student and a fan of American culture, but American culture going back several decades. I mean, whether it's musically, aesthetically, the clothes you wear on stage. I mean, there's a certain era and style that the Reverend Horton Heat represents.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, that's right. I'm very influenced by mid-century stuff. So the music, rockabilly music from the 50s, but 50s music in general, but then all the other stuff, surf guitar music as well as the country music, but then the Cars and the atomic furniture and the mid-century modern houses and Frank Lloyd Wright and all the kitschy type of appliances and stuff that were in people's kitchens and, you know, were really cool back then. So I'm just really enamored with the whole era.
And when I think about the songs you cover on stage, whether it's Chuck Berry or Motorhead or Johnny Cash, I realize that is your DNA.
Yep. Well, you mentioned Motorhead, but that's English. But
I mean, that energy, that kind of rawness.
But the beat of that song is very similar to an American bluegrass type of a thing. So, oh yeah, you know, I can't remember who all you just named, but
Chuck Berry, Johnny Cash.
But Johnny Cash, and oh yeah, we did a Chuck Berry song last night. Johnny Cash we got to play a show and meet Johnny Cash one time, and
now, hang on, what was that like?
It was kind of scary. It was epic. But he was real nice, and and June Carter was real nice, and he talked to us for a minute, and then June Carter came and grabbed him by the ear and pulled him out while he was still talking to us.
That's amazing.
Like, come on, we have to go. Come on, we have to go. And he just followed her out.
That's amazing. Now, do you remember, going back to, you pretty much knew you were going to have a career in rock and roll dating back to when you were a teenager. What was the first song you learned how to play on guitar?
Well,
when you picked up that first Gretsch or whatever your first guitar was.
It wasn't a Gretsch, it was an old Stella. But the thing was that my cousins played, and I had a cousin that came. He was on leave from Vietnam. He was a Marine, and he was pretty wild. And he'd saved up his money, bought a Camaro, and it had an 8-track player. and he took me for a ride, and he came to visit us, and I must have been about 10 years old, and I think he was driving 80 miles an hour down Staples Street in Corpus Christi. It was crazy how fast he was driving. But he was playing an 8-track tape of Live at Folsom Prison with Johnny Cash.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was one of those live ones. I'm not exactly sure. On an 8-track in his car, and I heard Johnny Cash singing Folsom Prison Blues, and I heard the reaction of I was 10 years old, so I didn't really know about lyrics yet, but I really learned the power of lyrics when he would, sing a line and about, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die, and the crowd, those prisoners were like, yeah, like it just all came to life, this whole lyrical thing. And so that was the first song I wanted to learn to play, and I tried to learn off the record. I thought I was learning how to play like Johnny Cash. Mm-hmm. And really, I was trying to learn how to play guitar like Luther Perkins.
Exactly.
I didn't realize that at the time, but anyway, I have a cousin that could play it, and he remembers me being 10 or 11 years old saying, "Do that again, do that again, do it again," because I was trying to learn he was trying to show me how to play it, But that's the first one, and
Well, I love your lyrics and the power of the lyric. You also have a lot of fun. The songs you write. There is definitely a great sense of humor throughout. One of my favorite lyrics you've ever written, and you'll probably never hear anyone else say this, death metal guys. Rockabilly guys, like rockabilly chicks, death metal guys think they're all country hicks. But death metal guys still live with their mom on the internet learning how to embalm. That's it. And that's why rockabilly culture, why the culture that you represent is so awesome. It's just, when I listen to the Reverend Horton Heat, I want to drive fast. I want to get laid. I want to get drunk. That's what the Reverend Horton Heat does for me.
Yeah, just don't do all those at the same time.
Yeah, you have to be careful about how you schedule all that. But yeah,
yeah, maybe
that's rock and roll, though, right?
Yeah, that's
at its
right.
core.
Yeah, Oh, good.
As someone who's worked in radio forever, radio has never really known what to do with the Reverend Horton Heat. The irony is, your music is compatible with dozens of rock genres, but I feel like radio's never been able to figure you out. Am I crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy, but I'm glad you brought that up. I appreciate it, because it has been a little bit of a problem with my career, but in some ways, we fly under the radar, and it's been good because we never really got the big hit that vaulted us to some kind of magnificent success. But at the same time, we just slowly under the radar kept kind of getting bigger and bigger, and we've been able to have a great career. And without naming names, we're at a point now where we have platinum selling bands, older bands that come out and open up for us now. So we're still vital, and so
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's been a little disappointing, but in the big scheme of things, it might have been a blessing, So.
Well, and you've had such incredible longevity. And what's the secret to that tenacity? Just not giving up?
Yeah. Never give up. Never give up.
I was talking before we started recording this about your last album, Rev. One of my favorite songs, and I'm sure you've told the story a dozen times, one of my favorite songs on the album is Spooky Boots.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell the story?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, we were playing a show in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and there was this old biker guy that came to see us every time we were in Santa Fe, and he was a short guy who had some type of a disability. He was a biker, but he was kind of he wasn't atypical. But anyway, long story short, he was there, and he sat down with me when they were feeding us after sound check, and nobody was there. It was before the show, and he started telling me. He goes, I had this girl, and it's the best girlfriend I ever had. He said she took care of me. He goes, I have kind of a hard time getting dressed, and she'd even help me get dressed and all this other stuff, and she was just the greatest ever, and he said, he goes, yeah, and so man, I go up to the town square every Saturday looking for her because I think she left me. His girlfriend left him, and so I go up to the town square where all the stores are, and I keep thinking I'm going to see her. I go there every Saturday, and so I started thinking about it. I said, well, I was about to give him one of these kind of guy-to-guy things, man, maybe it's time to, let it go, So I said, well, how long has it been? And he said, well, she left in 1969. So I was just thinking, well, it's kind of pointless to tell him to let it go now. I mean, he's come all these years keeping doing that. And I said, well, what's her name? And he goes, well, I never knew her real name. Everyone just called her Spooky Boots.
That's amazing.
And so
that's amazing. So after he tells you that story, it's one of those things where you look at him and you slowly walk backward, like, okay,
I didn't.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Best wishes, bro.
Yeah.
So Texas has a profound amount of blues music coming out of it. We're here in Chicago. How important is the blues to you? Just even recreationally, to say nothing of the music you write.
Well, that's another connection with Chicago. Is that when I was a kid, I was riding my bicycle to the record store, and I must have been about 10 or 12, and I was trying to play guitar, and I was probably going there to buy a Black Sabbath or an Alice Cooper album.
But be careful, because if we start talking about Alice Cooper, this interview will never end. I'll talk for like 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, be careful. So let's just say it was a Sabbath album.
Okay.
It was Master of Reality.
I went in there, and the guy had this. He was playing blues in the store, and I think it was Sonny Boy Williamson or Howlin' Wolf. I'm not sure. I barely remember, but I just and I was like thinking to myself, man, this is scarier than Black Sabbath.
Right.
So I said, what is that? He goes, it's Howlin' Wolf, kid. And he goes, hey, come over here. And then, so I started looking. He had a great, supply of records, and a lot of them were Chess records, the Chicago thing.
Sure.
The Chess records reissues were hitting big in the mid 70s, early 70s, and so I walked out with Sonny Boy Williamson and a Buddy Guy album, and so I was off to the races.
That's amazing.
So I started playing those and trying to learn the licks, and I got a book, and I was actually taking guitar lessons. My parents got me some guitar lessons, and I'd only done about 6 of them when I met a kid in school that he was a classical player. But he goes, oh, you like blues? He goes, hey, look at this. And he could play ninth chords. And so he showed me how to play ninth chords. And that just, all of a sudden, it just came into, the whole sliding ninth chord, slow blues thing came. And I quit taking guitar lessons because I was just off learning off the records myself. And so, that's the one thing in Chicago that I've never done, that I've got to go to see Chess.
Well, here's the thing. Chicago is this blues mecca. I feel like Chicago pays a lot of lip service to the blues, but we don't do enough to prop it up. Like, you would think that the Chess building would be this wonderful museum space, this wonderful source for blues information. It's really not. It's not even on like the tourist radar.
Oh, wow.
And it's a shame, because I would think when you go through O'Hare, you'd be hearing Buddy Guy playing through the sound system. Or, like, I feel like if you fly into Austin, you're surrounded by music in the airport.
Yeah.
Chicago, not so much.
That's right. Well, they should get with the program, because that's what a lot of people worldwide think of when they think of Chicago. They don't, let's face it, people in Germany, they don't care about the Chicago Cubs or the Chicago Bears. And honestly, they don't really probably even know who Michael Jordan is.
Right.
But they know who Little Walter and Sonny Boy Williamson and Chuck Berry are, and so, yeah.
So, people also think of really fattening food when it comes to Chicago. How's that burger treating you?
It's great.
I haven't even been into mine. They're on these giant Kaiser rolls. So the meat's almost like hidden. And once you get in there, there's something to be said for that thin griddle burger. Like I like a big juicy burger, sure, but there's something about that kind of like diner burger. It just hits the spot.
Yeah, really, it's great. It's really awesome. Thank you for bringing me here.
Have you had the nerve to try barbecue in the Midwest? Or is it something that's so sacrosanct in your world that you wouldn't even dream of it?
Well, no, because barbecue, one great thing about that is it's a great part of Americana because it changes in the different regions, you know. So, in Texas, it's all about brisket and sausage. Well, you get up to Memphis, and it's all about pork. But they still do good brisket there too. But the sauces change a little bit, you know. In Texas, it's a spicier, sweet and spicier. But then you get up to Kansas City, and it's got a little bit less of a spice to it, but it's still real good. I mean, it's just a little bit different. It's a different style when you get into that region. I love going to Arthur Bryant's in Kansas City, or they got some good barbecue there.
That was my first experience going to a real barbecue place. I was going to school in Lawrence. We went to Arthur Bryant's. It was super late at night. Served from behind bulletproof glass, a styrofoam container, the white bread. That's great experience. I love that. Now in Chicago, I mean, up until not all that long ago, Chicago was all about rib tips and links. It was very much a South Side of Chicago thing.
Okay.
All right, so you're working on new stuff, which hopefully we'll hear next year, which is awesome. And Reverend Horton Heat never stops.
No. It just gets harder and harder and harder. I mean, it's busier.
Does it really?
Well,
because
I wouldn't say harder,
because you see Reverend Horton Heat on stage,
you know.
you look like you're having a good time every time.
Well, excuse me. This burger is great. Thanks, but I finally finished it off there. But no, the thing about me is that I actually enjoy playing music more now than I did when I was younger. And the reason is because now, when you're younger and the band is starting out, you know, whenever you play a gig, there's this pressure. It's like, wow, we're in Chicago, we're playing at Lounge Acts, we better play good, so they have us back here at Lounge Acts. And then you're thinking about all that instead of just thinking about the music and having a good time. And then a few years later, it was like, wow, you know, Tony Ferguson from Interscope's going to be here. We better play good so we can get a record deal. And by now, none of that matters. You know, it's like, forget any of that. We're up here having a good time, and it's a lot more enjoyable now. The flip side is I don't enjoy the traveling as much because it's kind of hard on my body. It's just kind of a hard thing physically to do, and that gets a little bit old, you know. So now when we pull into New York City, I just say, look, leave me at the hotel in Jersey. You guys go on in. I'm going to get a cab in there when I have to play the gig. So I guess I'm a little bit of a pansy about it now, you know, but
traveling is hard.
It's
great
hard
once you get there, but the experience of flying, and if you're on a bus, oh my God, it's grueling.
Yeah, but you know, in some ways I'm used to it, in some ways I'm not. But you know, I'm so lucky to do what I do, and like I said, I enjoy playing music more than ever. So it's all good. It's all good.
You know, you mentioned Interscope. That mid '90s, that early to mid '90s period, was just nuts for record companies, for bands, and there was that pressure. We got to get a record deal. You put out Liquor in the Front, worked with Al Jorgensen, another Chicago connection. What was that like? Because Al was, I think, at peak Al Jorgensen at that time.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, his studio was essentially Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, and it scared us. I'll be frank with you, it scared us. We're pretty rowdy ourselves, but I mean, no, without getting into the extreme details of that, there's not really much way to even really talk about that session much, but But yeah, Al's a character, but you know what? He's all about freedom, I mean, I'm not an anarchist, but one great thing about anarchy is that, it's people are free, and so I am about freedom. So, so Al, and he's he helped us a lot on that album, and so I owe him a debt of gratitude for helping us on that project. So.
And some of those songs still stick out in my head. I mean, Yeah, Right, and Do It. I mean,
yeah, great. Good.
Sonically a little different from the rest of the. I mean, you can feel Jorgensen's influence on what he did with your vocals and everything, but
right.
Still there's some good songwriting on there.
Well, thanks. Yeah, no, it was a good album, but it was kind of a process that was a little bit hard. Al does his own thing, and so basically toward the end of the session, he wasn't listening to anything we were saying at all, so.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, before I cut you loose, I do want to read the Boost Mobile social media message of the week. I had Stabbing Westward in the car a few episodes ago, who came out around the same time as Liquor in the Front. This is from listener Noah. Why was Christopher from Stabbing Westward so angry? Doesn't time heal all wounds? Christopher was talking about things that didn't work or connect for the band in the 90s. It's hard to hold grudges in music. I mean, it's not worth it, is it?
No, it's not.
You don't strike me as someone who would hold a grudge.
Yeah, well, no, I can be a little bit vindictive, and I pray that I can get better about that. But no, I just, yeah, it just sets yourself back. I never like to look back. I like to look forward because, you really never know how things would have been. You could have, kind of like I was just saying. Maybe our record went platinum, and I had all these hit songs and all that, but then all of a sudden the fallback from that could have been the death knell of my band, and I would not even be a musician now. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, you can never tell what would have happened, so there's no point in holding a grudge. If somebody says something about, mean about Reverend Horton Heat, then I don't forget it, but I don't let it, it might. And some of those are some of my best stories. The Dallas Observer, my wife called me. We were about to go on stage in front of 10,000 people headlining a festival at Key Arena in downtown Seattle. And Key Arena, I mean, it was big. Yeah. And my wife called me and said, have you heard about what the Dallas Observer just wrote about you? And I was like going, no. And she read it to me, and it was all about how my career had been over for a decade, and it was just sad that I'm still out there trying to, make this whole thing work.
That's infuriating.
And because from a journalistic standpoint, it was the exact opposite. I was like, I couldn't let her read the whole thing to me because I had to go play in front of 10,000 people.
Right.
And so from a journalistic standpoint, they could have called me on the phone and found out that we're doing all this stuff, but instead they made up something. They just made up what they thought
they just
in
fit
their head.
Their idea into whatever narrative that was. Well, this kind of brings up one more question. How have you responded to the internet as a way of bringing your audience closer to you? Do you embrace that? I mean, things are so different now. You talk about surviving in the music industry as long as you have. Your fans have greater access now than they did when they're standing in front of the stage watching you at Lounge Acts, just through social media.
Yeah, maybe, but I should be better at social media. It's probably because of my age that I'm. These younger.
Well, you're 42.
The younger people are. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, plus about 2 or 3 years on that one. But anyway, no, no, I should be better at social media. But it does. There's. It is interesting, and I do enjoy, getting good positive feedback that I can get off of that, and being able to have the fans, let us know, their feelings about the band, and it's encouraging. So that's really nice because, I mean, without, the wild applause is really why you play music. You like the immediacy of the live thing, but having that encouragement, from social media, that's nice too. And so, yeah, it's a whole different world, and then everybody, in the music business talks about this pretty much every day about where things are going, and I've made some predictions that have been wildly wrong about what would happen with all this stuff, So, for one thing about the internet, and is that now a lot of young players have access to the vintage music that I like, way more than I did when I
Everything
was
ever
growing
made.
up.
It's right there.
Right. So, by the time I really wanted to start learning to play Cliff Gallup licks off the Gene Vincent and the Blue Cap, those albums were already collector items. So
Right.
they were already $50, and here I'm going to be dropping a needle on the thing over and over to try to learn those licks. So it was now you just have access to all of that, and so it's really going to help musicians a lot, and it is.
That's a great point.
So.
Yeah, I was just thinking in terms of, you're not making music for, to get a record deal or to, play that whole music industry game. You're really doing it for the fans now. And so when a fan on, let's say, Facebook or Twitter or wherever says, I was having a really shitty time in my life, I put on It's Martini Time, turn me around. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I've got to think makes it great to be an artist.
Absolutely. It makes it great to be an artist. And, well, I get those stories every night. Every night somebody tells me, we danced at a wedding to your song In Your Wildest Dreams. And
man.
That somebody was saying that last night. So that kind of thing happens. And it's heartfelt. It's a nice thing.
Well, Jim, Reverend Horton Heat, you are an American classic. Thanks for sharing cheeseburgers in my car.
Well, thank you for having me. That was really excellent. I wouldn't have come here today unless you'd have brought me, and I'm so glad I did.